You're watching Will Motivation, the channel on YouTube where you not only get to check out some sweet supercars, nice cribs, and exotic destinations, but also get educated on different avenues that lead to success, no matter where you come from. Here is where we create, educate, and motivate. Welcome to Will Motivation. Holla! Yo, yo, what's up? It's your boy, Will Motivation, back with another video that has been requested time and time again. Sorry, I was just watching my YouTube channel there. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm doing this video. It's basically free real estate investing advice. I do research for you guys and I share my experience. For those of you that have never seen my channel, I am a real estate investor. I am an entrepreneur, and I've done over 35 real estate deals, some of them being flips, and then most of them being buy and hold. So I still hold about 20 rental properties, and I share some of my knowledge on YouTube. And a lot of my subscribers subscribe because they like my Lamborghini, and so I do a lot of car videos as well. But I would not have the Lamborghini if I was not invested well in real estate or some other investment vehicle. So I like to talk about real estate since that's what I use to start to invest my money and have that money working for me, making positive cash flow every month and every year, making a significant amount on that real estate. So in this video, we're going to talk about how do you invest in real estate if you do not have any money? Like for your, and most people, there's two main things you need money for when you're talking about buying real estate. That is one, your down payment for a property, and then two, the money you might need to fix up a property if it needs to be fixed up, right? So how do you get that money? So I did a little bit of research on it because I don't really consider myself an expert at buying real estate without money, because what I did when I started buying real estate, I had money in the bank accounts, and money in bank accounts does not make a lot of interest. So I was looking for ways to make more money with my money that I had sitting in a bank account just kind of rotting away. So that's when I started looking into real estate and got into real estate and have done very well with it, right? So I didn't consider myself an expert because I got into real estate with my own savings, basically. So I did a little bit of research, so bear with me. I'm gonna go over the top 4 things that I found, and as well as we'll start out with my personal experience and things that I know that other people have done, and then we'll get into what my research has shown me as far as what you can do to invest in real estate without any money. So based on my own experience and some realistic scenarios of how I could see this happening, and my real estate research showed this same thing, and that is basically if you find real estate deals, like let's say you do your research and you find some good investment properties, but you don't have any money to buy the property or to invest in the property, right? So what you can do is take those deals that you find. You have to be fast about this, and you have to have a network of investors and people that have money. And the way you do that is like a whole nother video, right? How you build out your network. But essentially, I'm giving you the short answer is how you do this. Is you get to know people that are actual investors that have money. You find the deals that you would like to invest in, but maybe since you don't have the money, you cannot. But if you find a partner that has money to invest, and you present that partner with the deal, and you're gonna have to put together some paperwork so that they don't steal the deal from you or whatever. But that's part of building a relationship where you deal with people that you find to be trustworthy. But anyway, you can present those real estate deals to other people to finance. And as a part of that deal, you ask for the person financing the deal to cut you in on the profits. And that might be a percentage or that might be a flat fee, whatever you're able to negotiate. So, so let's say I don't have any money to invest, but I found some property online and I go check out the property in, real life, maybe even get a realtor involved, check out the property, make sure it's still available for sale, do the numbers on the property. And when you do the numbers on the property, you can present that to an investor or someone who has the money and say, look, I found this property. Here are the numbers. They can look over the numbers and check them out themselves. And say, if you're interested in this deal, let's sign a little agreement that I'll give you the address to the property. You can check over all of the numbers. If it looks good, you purchase the property, and then you get cut into that deal. Basically, make an agreement to say, hey, I want X percentage if you go with this deal, or I want this fixed dollar amount if you go with this deal. Just for my time and finding that deal. So for me, that's the most realistic way for someone who doesn't have any money to get started in real estate, is to start doing your homework and research and finding good properties. Because no matter what you do, you want to be able to. You at least have to have that skill to be able to find and research properties, check the status of the property, whether it's in contract, whether it's really for sale, maybe even do some title work, that kind of thing, to figure out, if there's any liens on the property, do all the numbers and be able to do that. Because when you do have money, you're going to have to do that same thing. Or if somebody presents you with the deal, let's say one day you're the person with the money and somebody wants to bring you a deal, you're going to have to be able to analyze the numbers on that deal to see if it really makes sense and if it's low risk and worth your time and effort to either fix it up and flip it, or buy it and hold it and rent it out for profit, right? So that's my personal experience and my recommendation for someone to realistically get into real estate investing with no money. However, in that way, you don't own the property. You just get paid off of the deal, which for a lot of people, that's fine, because then you have less responsibility or liability in those real estate transactions. So it's not a bad way to go. But what did my real estate research show me? And I'm looking at my research right now. So let's say you don't have any money, but you're interested in buying a property to live in it, or maybe even rent it out, right? So what you could do, if you don't have that down payment money, is what you can do is ask for seller financing. Because if a seller is motivated to sell a property, what they can do when you close on a property, and let me try to break this down as simple as possible. Let's say you need a 10% down payment to buy the property for whatever bank you're with. So let's say you get your credit good, and this is assuming you've got good enough credit to get a loan for a home. What you can do is get the bank that you're working with, get the terms of the loan. Let's say you need 10% down, and somebody has, so that means, and let's say you're looking at a house that's worth 100 grand. So you need to come up with $10,000, and let's say you don't have it. What you can do once you find a house, let's say you find a house for $100,000, and you can negotiate with the seller to have the seller give you the money at closing for the down payment. So essentially, that's lowering that price of the house from $100,000 down to $90,000, because they're going to give you $10,000 for your down payment, and then that way they can sell the house and you can buy the house, because they're going to give you the money at closing for your down payment and your loan. That's assuming you've got good credit and the bank thinks that you can make the payments and the bank approves you and everything. It's just that you got to come up with the money. You can negotiate with the seller to actually give you the down payment at closing as a part of that deal. So let's say whatever the dollar amount is, you subtract that from the price, the selling price of the home, so that they can give it to you at closing. So I think it's pretty simple. I hopefully I explained that well. But basically, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to ask the seller to actually finance, the person who's selling the house to actually finance the deal, so that basically you can make payments to that person selling the house. Now, that I don't recommend that so much because you're not going to get, you know, the seller's still going to own the home until you pay the whole thing off, and that could take who knows how long. But what you might want to look into for a scenario like that would be to do a lease option. So what that means is you lease a home, and so like this is the second thing I looked up. You lease a home, and I've done this before with my tenants. So what you do is you lease with the option to buy the house. So let's say you found a house, and maybe they wanted to sell it or rent it, and you can negotiate a price in which you're willing to buy it for, and you'll sign a lease contract to say, hey, I'm going to lease this house and make these monthly payments until I get my credit and my down payment together, and then I'm going to buy it for this agreed upon price. And that agreed upon price should be a price that is lower than market value so that it can be a great investment for you. So that's an option for you to get a house if you don't have your down payment yet, you don't have the money yet, so you can get a lease with an option to buy. But ensure that the agreement specifically states a final price for the property, define the exact portion of the rental payments that will be put towards the final purchase price as well. And like I said, I have done that with tenants before, and I actually like doing lease options because they take care of the house, the tenants take care of the house as if they're buying it, right? And they have to maintain it. So, they're responsible just like a homeowner. And then when they come up with the money or the loan to buy the house, then we just go sit down and close the deal, go to a closing. So that's option number 2, which is a lease option with the option to buy a house until you get your financing together and you get your credit together. Third option, which I don't know how popular this is or how realistic it is, but it's definitely an option, is you can actually work out a trade for a home. So make sure if you do a trade that you have a legal agreement drafted up by a lawyer, and you might have to get some things appraised that you're talking about, but some things that people trade in real estate deals could be cars, motorhomes or campers, boats, large appliances, valuable artwork, or even furniture. So it has happened and it is realistic. So if you have some asset and you find a home that maybe is of equal or similar value, you might work out a trade. So I'm not such a fan of that option, but it is a realistic option for some people, and it has happened. And that, if you're looking at maybe buying property overseas, that might be a real good option, because like some things over here that are cheap for us can be very expensive overseas. So like, for example, I have, my Lamborghini in the garage. If I traded my Lamborghini to somebody maybe in Brazil that has a house in Brazil, I could have a really nice house in Brazil for what that car would cost in Brazil, just for example. So maybe if you're looking to buy something offshore, like a house, maybe you can trade a car. Now, that's the details of doing something like that are probably pretty complicated, because you got to know the local laws and bringing in cars or bringing in properties and all that stuff, but it's a possibility. Now, this fourth option that I looked up, I kind of like this option, and it's not something that I initially thought of, but it's a good option for people, especially if there's a downturn in the economy, right? This could be a very viable option and something to think about. But let's say you want to pick up a house, you don't have a down payment, and let's say the economy goes down and people are stuck with their house, they're stuck with their house mortgage payment, and maybe they want to get out of it, right, without ruining their credit. Well, if you have your credit together, but maybe you don't have any money, you can actually offer to take over payments or take over a mortgage. So if you're interested in investing in a piece of real estate, but you don't have that down payment, offer to take over the mortgage payments in exchange for the deed. However, you'll need to investigate the existing loan before you take such an offer, because some mortgage loans have specific language preventing this type of transaction. So the other thing you could do is you could offer to take over a person's other debt, instead of making a down payment, and then that's something that you could pay off over time, but just put the agreement in writing, and get all that stuff worked out. But I really like that option of taking over payments, but you just have to work that out with the bank that holds the mortgage, and your credit would have to be, in tip-top shape. And then one other option would be bringing in a partner, which is sort of like what I was talking about in my personal experience of doing, investing when you don't have money. You can basically be the person that runs the project. In this scenario, it's a little bit different, like more hands-on. So like, let's say you find a house that you want to flip, you get all the numbers for it, they look good, and you need an investment partner who maybe does not want to be hands-on. They don't want to do any of the flip work. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to manage contractors. They don't want to do any of that. And a lot of, if you watch like that show Flip or Flop, they use this, and they get private money lenders, and just basically people that have money sitting in a bank account. They like real estate and they'll invest in real estate, but they want their money back pretty quick, or else they want high interest rates of return on that money when you sell the flip. So essentially, get to know people that are investors that have money to invest. There's a lot of them out there. I've even considered being one of those type of people, but not at this point. It'll probably be a few years down the road. I might actually get into that. But basically, you find a deal, then you find the investor. The investor brings the money to the deal, and then you do all of the work. You get the contractors, you manage the budget, you manage getting everything done, and then when you flip and sell that house, you pay back the investor, and then you keep the profits. But with a deal like that, the investor's probably going to want to have their name on the title for the property, so that if you screw up, they keep the property, and then they can try to recoup their money. You know what I mean? So those are serious deals, but that's a way to do it, and that's a very realistic way to do it, and people are doing that all the time. You know what I mean? So let me see what other research I found here. Okay, so this is the obvious thing, which I almost didn't mention it because I wouldn't do it personally. I don't like to do stuff like this. It's just culturally, it's not my thing. But people do it all the time. If you don't have money to get a house, people borrow money from friends and family and people they know. They borrow the money, say there's a specific time they have to pay it back, and then they buy a house, and maybe they flip it. When they sell it, they pay that family member back, or they pay that friend back, or whoever. And it could be, in that case, it's just like if it was a business partner. It's just a little bit more informal, but I would suggest that you definitely write up contracts and everything so that everybody's protected. The other thing is, this is very realistic too. Let's say you have a house, but you want to start investing, right? Let's say you've been living into your house for 10 years, but you are living maybe close to check, or you have all your money in 401k, you don't want to take it out, but you see some real estate that you want to buy, and I have done this before. And that would be pull out equity from your existing property in order to buy new property. Like I said, I have done this before. So basically it's pretty simple too. So let's say you live in a house, you've been there for 10 years, the market is high right now, so there's a good likelihood you probably got some equity in your house. You can go to the bank and say, hey, I want to buy this other property. Let's say the property costs $100,000 to keep it simple. The bank says, okay, we'll lend you 80% of the money for that house, but you got to come up with 20%. You can say, hey, I own my house now and I've got some equity in it. Can we pull the equity out of my house to cover that 20%? And the bank will likely say, yeah, let's take a look at it. So they'll get an appraisal done on your house, find out what it's worth, subtract what you owe, and then and that will result in your equity. And if your equity can cover, that 20% on the new house, then they can put a second lien or a second mortgage on your existing house, and then you have the money to buy that investment property. But what you have to do is make sure you can cover all of the payments. So if you're borrowing money against your current house, you're going to have a new payment for that second mortgage. So you got to make sure you can cover that payment, and the new payment, the new mortgage on the new house, you got to know what that amount is going to be. And then make sure if you're going to rent the house out, that your rent is going to more than cover your two mortgages, and then any taxes or insurance or other expenses you might have. But if you're going to flip it, it's a little bit, that's the scenario where I've done that. So if I'm going to flip a house, it's less risky, because once after 3 months I fixed the house up and sold it, get all the money back, pay off the mortgage on that new house, and then pay off the second mortgage I got for that 20%, and then I'm left with some profit. So with flips, I think it's a little bit less risky as long as your numbers are right. But with a rental, you got to be real conservative on your numbers so that you don't get in a situation where you can't afford to pay that second mortgage and then that new mortgage on whatever property you get. So that option is called taking out equity in your existing property. Let's see. So that's it, man. And you know, a lot of you guys have bought real estate without having any money that have subscribed to my channel. So make sure you chime in and put comments, maybe of how you've done it in a creative way, because there are lots of creative ways to do this. But I just thought I'd do a little research for you guys, because a lot of people were asking me, how do you get into real estate if you don't have any money? And I'm not an expert on it, so I took a little bit of time. That's why it took me so long to do this video, was because I had to research it. And I said, okay, I'll come up with some ways. I'll share those ways. Doesn't cost you anything. The way you guys pay me is by clicking like and subscribing to my channel, and then also commenting and then sharing the video. Because when those three things happen, YouTube shares my video with more people, because they think that it has value because you're commenting or you're liking or you're subscribing. So that's how you pay me, because we get the word out. And eventually, I'm thinking I'll do a real estate course and get more formal. And anybody that's really serious about investing in real estate, I'll give you guys everything I got. So please stay tuned, like and subscribe. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys following my channel. And I really enjoy the comments. So if you got anything to say at all, don't care what it is, please comment. Talk to you next time. Yo, this is Will Motivation. Just wanted to say thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And also feel free to share this video with your friends and be a part of the movement. I'll check you guys out in the next video. Holla.